for some reason. Makes it even stronger. Torcross promotion. Splash damage dealt by Moze has a chance to double in size, and you get even more splash damage with it. Means of Destruction, we can get ammo and grenade chance to regen. Pull the Holy Pin, we can crit with grenades. Vampire, this is going to be healing our shields even faster. Our shields deplete really quickly, so we want to make sure that our shields are always staying active. When we're throwing our CMT, it'll heal with Vampire at a huge rate. We use a level 1 CMT because it doesn't matter the level of the CMT, it's determined on the amount of hits that it does, not the amount of damage. So you can have a level 1, you can have a level 72, it'll do the exact same thing. A level 1 is preferred because if you use a really high level 1, so max level 60, 65, if you hit yourself, Fire in the Skag's Den will proc on yourself and instantly down yourself, thus throwing off all of your synergies. So a low level 1 is preferred. Short Fuse, whenever Moze deals gun damage, there's a chance for a secondary explosion. Self-explanatory, Short Fuse is nuts. It was technically nerfed a while back, but there was no indication that it was nerfed at all. Big Surplus, this is another big Mayhem's Tailed skill that Moze has. Whenever the action skill is cooling down, you deal bonus fire damage. So whenever we lose our Cub, Cub shooting railguns expires it very quickly, so Big Surplus is active quite often. Biofuel, whenever we ignite an enemy on fire, we regen some HP. This will be 2 points of passive shield regen, because our Bloodletter is going to be healing all of our shields at all times. This is useful for things like Fire in the Skag's Den or any of my fire-related skills, Cloud of Lead, Scorching RPMs, experimental munitions, things like that. Those will all have an opportunity to biofuel. And finally, we go Heavy Green Tree. Cloud of Lead. Every 4th shot will deal fire damage and you don't consume ammo. Stoke the Embers for bonus fire damage. Redistribution for crit, regen ammo, and HP. Scrappy for 2 points just to move down the tree. You get some more damage while moving. Scorching RPMs, you get increased fire rate and critical hit damage. Iron Bank, this is going to be nice to increase our magazine size by 35% for our Blade Fury. The more that you're shooting your Blade Fury, the more that you're alive and well. Click, you get gun damage as your magazine empties, so if you're starting to run out of ammo and you're not getting lucky with ammo regen, the more that you empty out your magazine size, the more gun damage you're getting. We talked about this earlier, but after exiting Iron Bear is whenever Cub expires. Since Cub expires rather quickly, because it shoots the railguns, spends a lot of fuel, we gain infinite ammo for 5 seconds afterwards. And finally, Forge. Just for holding our weapon in our hand, we regen passive magazine size. It's going to be 5% of our magazine size per second. So just hanging on to it will regen some ammo. And that is the skill trees. Going into our skills here, or sorry, our gear. We're going to be maining the Blade Fury. However, we do have Guardian Angel just for other things. Face Puncher and Psycho Stabber just for some alternative, very rare scenarios. But for the most part, you're going to be hanging on to the Blade Fury. Now we're doing While Terrified, deal 75% bonus cryo damage. This is going to be interacting with our shield and our grenade, which is going to be melee attacks have a gain terror. This thing does melee damage, so just by shooting this, we're constantly gaining terror, along with the Face Puncher. Both of them do the same thing. And the CMT is While Terrified, we get increased damage and fire rate. We talked about the level 1 reason why earlier. A low level 1 is preferred. Now, everything kind of revolves around the Mana Well. The Mana Well is when you slam, you drain your shield, and it constantly does a tick on your shield. It goes rather quickly if you don't regen it passively very quickly, which is why we have all those healing related skills. Your shield gets you the card says 70% damage reduction, however it's actually 90%. That has not been fixed or changed yet. And you get bonus shock damage until your shield is empty. That shock damage is 100%, which is lower than the Revolter by an additional 100%. But that damage reduction and that shock damage is really nice, especially since you can have it active whenever the hell you want it. That damage reduction is going to be stacking with things like armored infantry. So we get an additional 13% on top of that, which puts us over a 100% damage reduction, meaning that we're not going to be taking a lot of damage from enemies. We don't have damage resistance, so things like Mayhem Scaled Barrels, water, that's all going to hurt still, but enemies don't really do a shit ton of damage to us. So that's going to be nice. The CMT we talked about earlier, you throw it. The level 1 doesn't matter. It's there just to cause a lot of hits. Hits will cause us to heal. We have the Knife Drain static charge. The Knife Drain is going to be passively healing us just by shooting enemies with our Blade Fury, because it has melee damage. Because of the static charge effect as well, if we're hitting an enemy, it's going to be chaining a chain link between enemies, which is great for mobbing. I do mag size and weapon reload as the first two, just for some passive support related skills. The mag size are going to be nice with the Blade Fury shots, and if for some reason we have to reload, we reload faster too. The AoE is going to be interacting with all of our splash damage related skills, so that's a nice little one to finish off. And finally, we have the Bloodletter. The Bloodletter is going to be healing us whenever we have the opportunity to heal. It's going to be healing our shields instead, so we keep our mana well active at all given times. It comes with weapon crit, splash damage, and melee damage, and you're probably thinking that this is really, really, really good. That's because this is a save-edited Bloodletter. Everything else on the build is legitimately farmed. This Bloodletter in specific, however, is save-edited. So if you're looking for a perfect version of the build, this is a perfect version of the build. If you want to go with a non-perfect version of the build, but it's all legitimately farmed, I do have another one in here. It comes with splash damage, max health, and melee damage. It only has 3 phalanx instead, and thin red line. Thin red line will allow you for URAD options if you prefer. So this one here is a legitimately farmed Bloodletter if you want to go that route. If you want to go for the perfect route, this Bloodletter is save edited. It comes with 5 Phalanx Doctrine, which is going to be granting us a lot of stuff. After killing an enemy, you get a stack of it. For every stack of Phalanx Doctrine, Moze's max shield and gun damage are increased. There is no such thing as a stack limit. It goes as high as 99. But it's like impossible to get to 99. So the Phalanx Doctrine duration lasts for 30 seconds. There's no way in hell you'll get to 99 stacks that fast. To my knowledge, there's no build that can actually do it unless you have an enemy increase. Now, there's going to be 2 different versions of the save. You'll be able to see both links inside of the description, whichever one you prefer. There is the URAD version of this, and there's also the non-URAD version, whichever one you prefer. This Bloodletter here that we talked about is going to be the URAD version of the build. Because it comes with thin red line, you'll have to switch up a few things. Everything else here is totally fine. You can still stick with the Terror. You can still do URAD. What I would do is I would invest most points into thin red line. You'll be able to see it on the other spec of the build. I prefer this version with less red investment and more green investment just because it works better. But if you want to go the legitimate farmed route, that's the other one that it does. Alright, enough of my blabbing. Let's go ahead and test out the build, shall we? How is the clone infinite ammo anoint on something like a Monarch? The clone infinite ammo anoint is, it's good, however, it's broken at the moment. It's broken in the sense that if you go into fight for your life, or if you switch out of the Monarch, it will break, and it will not work anymore. However, if you plan on just sticking with the Monarch in your hand, it works out rather well. I would prefer ×4 because ×4 is more ammo sustain. Especially if you're going to be regenerating ammo with it, it'll work a lot better. Now you gotta do something that I don't do very, very often, and that's slamming your goddamn slam down so that the mana will actually procs. I never do that for some reason because I'm not used to slamming. Not a lot of builds in this game actually require you to slam. There's the Frozen Snowshoe, Moze Slam, there's the Spark Plug, there's a Spark Plug Amara that requires you to slam. And then there's this version. There's not really a lot of builds in the game that require slamming, so I always forget. If you do Terror, though, with ×8, you still won't get a lot of sustainment for it. Terror ammo regen and clone ammo regen, you won't be able to get enough still. You might have a chance if you do Terror with Moze and Green Tree, but I don't think you'll have enough. Hey Bflat, you good? What's up, base? How you doing? Good to see you. Good to have you. So as you can see, our shield is getting ticked away very, very slightly. Every single time that we shoot, we're healing our shields. Because of that, Knife Drain is healing us, and the Static Charge is proccing every hit that we do, allowing us to keep our shield quite active at all times. Now, there's one other thing that I wanted to mention as soon as we get out of combat. This mana well is doing one other thing for us. Our shield is going to be draining every single time we heal it fully by a percentage. And the reason for that is because our mana well has a amp part attached to it. The amp on here is going to be getting spent every single time we heal our shields to max. So essentially every time we get a hit on an enemy, we hit an enemy, we heal full, we amp, we drain it a little bit, and that'll do a increased shot every single time we do that. We're cycling through amp and non-amp so fast. Sometimes it's hard to catch. It's that that purple shot that comes out. That will be your amp shot. It happens quite often. If you do triple amp will hurt the shield quite a bit, but it'll do more damage. Let's go ahead and do Valkyries really quick. You'll be able to see the amp shots go through on these guys very quickly, and quite easily, actually. So before the fight, we've got to make sure we slam, just to get through the build. You'll know the mana well is active by the little dot pulse that surrounds your character. If that is there, you'll be able to tell that the mana well is active. That's all clear. And now you can see all those amp shots going through. Oh, once that cub expires, that's when things are about to get real. Yep, now we have big surplus going through. Excellent. This big boy, and we one-shot him. The more kills that you end up getting, the more that you'll see Phalanx Doctrine start to the more that you'll start to see the stack up happen and how much of an impact they'll make. That's beautiful. Beautiful. And I think that's really going to be the entire build there. There's a few other things to play around with in here. I do have some items in here to play around with. There's ×7 Face Puncher. There's a ×14, whatever your preference is. I do have Stingers in here to play around with. If you want to do Fish Slaps instead, I do have double-linked Fish Slaps. CMT at 72, even though I wouldn't prefer that. The Bloodletters that we talked about earlier. And yeah, it's going to be the build. Feel free to download it in the Discord. My name is Bflattened, guys, and I'm signing on out of here. Take care, all. Laters.